This video is about how you can create better tells and hopefully create them more consistently. And it's intended for people who can already make a transition pretty consistently and pretty quickly, and then build a little bit off the transition. So the tell is the back part of your chain, so it's kind of like the greens in this chain, but this chain doesn't have that much of a tell, and it looks like a nice 5 chain, but the tell has the problem where you can't really use the last column very well, the edge column, in this spot either. So you could do something like this, but it becomes a double match, and there's still some space that's hard to use. So the big thing you want to focus on is that every time you make a tell, you want to be able to use the edge column efficiently, and you don't want to have it be lower than the columns next to it, because then you end up losing out on a lot of space and it makes your chain weaker than it could have been. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use the edge column. So in a chain like this, one way would be to stack it like this, and then if you get blues, you can use the edge column because it's no longer lower than the other columns next to it. And also another way you could do it is like this, and there's some variations, but for example, this would work. But you really want to focus on every time you make a tell, you want the edge column to be as high or higher than the columns next to it, so that um, you can use these columns on the front end, or use the space on the front end. If you have to go down a level, so if your chain's like this, if you try to go up over this part, it's possible, but usually it's going to require like a lot of specific colors. Like if you get greens here, you could do like this, and then you could maybe do like this, but this is already getting like it requires so many specific colors that you're almost never going to be able to build this and then build higher. So it's usually really difficult to get up and over once you build a tell that doesn't let you use the edge column. So that's why it's important to try to always get a tell that lets you use the edge column efficiently. Now there's a lot of different types of shapes you could have going into the tell, so I'll try to show examples of different ones just to give you a better idea of how you can use the edge column. So here, like, your first instinct might be to do something like this, but this again has a problem where the edge column isn't really being used well, and you're going to lose out on some space. So you'll want to probably do something like this. This will work. And then you can put the blues however you want on the edge. Like this will work. And now you have a nice flat tell where the edge column isn't lower than the rest of the field. And if you wanted to, you could do it like this, but you would probably want a different color than blue, because if it was blue, you would have to do it like this, which is okay. But like I said, there's a lot of variations to what you can do. And then you probably want reds. So I'm just going to try to show a lot of different variations that you can use, and then you'll want to practice just so you can make one that works. So here's another way you could do it. And like this, and then you could add to the towel if you wanted to. And you could change how these are placed as well. So it's fine to always try to use the same shape, but sometimes you won't get colors that work out very well. So that's when it really helps to know different shapes. But if the colors you get allow you to just keep using the same shape over and over, then it's completely fine to just do that. So here's another variation. So a lot of the strong players tend to use chains like this, and then you can put a yellow either in either spot here or here. We'll start out here, and then with this chain you would usually do like this, and then put another color and put another color, and you have a nice flat tail. And the other way was like this, and if you had an extra yellow you could put it here, and then you would put it to a similar thing, and again you have a nice flat tail that's not too low on the edge. And then another really common variation is this one. So this one's nice to know because you might not see it intuitively, but it's very useful and it's a strong tell that you can make. Like this is already perfectly flat and it's a good tell, but you could add to the tell if you wanted to, and keep adding if you wanted to. So this is another tell I'd recommend just making yourself familiar with if you build this type of form, and you could put the extra yellows around. And something that helps when building is if you get an extra blue, like say you get a yellow attached to a blue, you can put it like this and then still build your tell in a similar way. And you can change the placement of the yellow too. So like this. So sometimes it'll be a lot smoother or a lot easier to get that if you can recognize to put the extra blue here, or sometimes you get two yellows and you can put them like this. So there's minor adjustments you can make based on what colors you're drawing. Again, the important part is that whatever tell you make, it has to allow you to use the edge column efficiently. And here's another variation, but you can do it really similar to the other one. Like you can do tells like this. Or you can do the same thing where you put a different color on the edge and use that one first, and then get the yellows later. And now another thing I wanted to talk about is going one higher. So um, what I mean by that is, let's say you put reds here as the next color, and this will make a double match. So maybe you put it like this and this works, but this still has the problem of not being able to use the edge columns. Well, if you go one color up, so there's reds here, you could go one higher and use a different color, and this actually allows you to make a better tell in this situation because now you're able to use the edge column. So the reds are the first color, but if you go one color up, you can make the blues the color that disappear and then get the reds later. And technically you could go like 2 up if you wanted to, and then just put the other colors after. So if you were to do something like that here, it would probably look like this, like maybe you're looking at doing it like this, but you're not really getting the greens. So you could go one color up and do a different color, and then get the greens later, or the reds. Either way will work. So there's the reds and then the greens, or you could do greens and then reds. And there's a lot of different spots where you could put the reds and the greens. So sometimes going one up will let you um, deal with tough piece sequences, or like if you aren't getting any greens or any reds, and maybe you already have like something over here. Maybe like this. And then you get a double blue. Well, you don't really want to put it here because it makes it easy to break. It's kind of hard to use it here. Like this could work, but like it's not terrible. If you put it here, you're just kind of throwing it away. So if you put it here, you can use the towel like this, and this is pretty nice because if you get a blue-green, you can put it efficiently here, or if you get a blue-red, you could put it here. And then whichever color you get next, you can fill in. So if you were to do it in this chain, it'd probably be something like this, where if you're not getting the last yellow and you already put a color here, then instead of using yellows, you could use the greens and then put the yellows after. Or you could even put a different color if you're not getting yellows and then put the yellow after that. So it's a good thing to just test out and see if you can do it, where like sometimes you can try it just for practice, try to force it in every time and then see where it doesn't really work and see where it's actually really helpful. And then later on, once you get used to doing it, you can make the decision of which one you want to do. Do you want to try to go one up or go two up maybe? Or just use the color at the bottom. And here would be pretty similar, but this one is pretty easy to break. So if you tried to make a towel like this, this is going to work just fine. But it's actually really easy to break because if there's a green here, or if there's a yellow here, it'll break either way. So it's not a very stable towel. So something you'll start to realize as you practice with different forms is where it's likely to break and what's likely to go wrong with it, and then you can pay attention to those things and try to make sure they don't happen. So for the last part of this video, I was just going to play some random piece sequences and try to make good tells if I can. So we'll see how well I do with that. So here's like that flat tell that was in the examples. And not really getting any, like, I could do this, but I'm not getting the blues I need on the back end. I kind of want to do like this, and then like this. Oops, not that. Probably like this. So I've made a towel that's going to let me use the back columns efficiently. And now I just have to connect it. I should probably put like this. And I just need the red. So as you can see, initially I'd planned to go with the purples, but I wasn't getting the last blue, so I went one color higher and I used the reds instead. And this is just one way to do it. Like, there's generally a lot of different variations you can have and different ways of building and things like that. So, like, there's a slight difference here, but it's a pretty similar chain. If I ever draw red. And I think the grains are gonna break. But... oh no, it's okay. So let's try a different set. So here again is that building up to that flat tell, but I'm going to try to do so in a way that guarantees that I can use the edge columns. So here I have one of the example tell shapes I showed, and then I could try to use the yellows on the front or the back. If I were playing, I'd probably try to use them in the front, but since this is a video on tells, I'll try to use it on the back instead. And then just... but once you get to this part, see you can use the edge pretty efficiently, and you could put a purple and make it flat, and now you're not losing any space there, and you can build up. Well, here again, I'd probably go with I could either go with that variation where you use the yellows, or I could um, do the purples. So if I do it here, do this, I'd be thinking about doing either of them, but since I have a blue purple, I would go with the purples. And now I have my towel set up. I'd probably go like this. And like this. So the focus is on the towel though. So like this shape I made here in the towel allows me to use the edge column. In this case, I just put reds there and it'll work. That one kind of broke. So here's a different shape, but I can either use the blues or I can go one up and use a different color. And I could use the yellows or I could put a color besides yellow like purple. So I'll just try purple, see if it works. And it's kind of a lot of dependencies here, but yeah. And I'm not getting yellows. And I can't put the blue, but I was gonna use the blues in the tail, but so let me just let's see if there's a different way to do it. So this is probably how I do it. Like not getting the right color. Uh, So again, the key point is you want to make sure that whatever tell you make, it allows you to use the edge column. So this version is using the purples, and then the other one I made was a bit different. But let's see. Hmm. There's no real good answer here that I know of. But I'll try like this. Probably like this. Since it's tell focus, I'm gonna try and put even more on the tell than I normally would. But, and I made a tell that was able to use the edge column, and also a lot of times you want to stop when it's flat unless you're in a hurry to extend on the tell. But once you get to flat, that's when you want to start using the rest of the space on the front of your chain if you can and if you're able to. Here's another way I can make this. There's too many greens though. But and there we have a pretty good tell. And whenever I get it. So as you can see here, it ended up becoming a 13 chain even though I didn't make a second transition just because the tell was really efficient. So it's not really an easy thing to do if you're not used to it. It takes a lot of practice, but if you practice it, you can make it more natural and then try to focus on doing it every time. So here I'd probably do this. This is hard because if you put the extra green like this, then it starts to make it hard to use the edge well. So maybe this is better. There's no good place to put this unless you do like this. And let's just use this. I guess I'll make this the last one. So let's see what I can do. Oh, I forgot a color. My bad. Aw. I didn't mean to do that. Technically, I'd have to do something here to get the piece over, and this isn't gonna work. But yeah, I'm gonna try again. Mhm. Just not getting the colors I want. Mm. No, this is gonna work. I was trying to get the purple to get there, but I couldn't get one more in. Anyway, that's the end of this video, and thanks for watching.